I repeat again, shout out to Ewan Dawkins. And if that's not how you pronounce his name, can his family please forgive me? I suffer from interpreting languages that are not closer to my articulate. So this guy is one of the guys who came out and defended the stance of foreign policy or the stance of open borders when the whole country, including black people, were attacking the EFF and claiming that the EFF wants to open the borders, while in fact that's not what they wanted. People misinterpreted the EFF, knowing very well they are misinterpreting it. Even the media was pushing all this propaganda, knowing very well that's not what the EFF is saying. The EFF was not saying open the borders. It doesn't mean when a South African defends foreigners, black foreigners who come from Zimbabwe, Mozambique, from xenophobia within South Africa. It doesn't mean we are saying open the borders and everyone must just come. I have a clip of this guy, Ewan Dawkins, defending the EFF's open border policy and explaining it. There you go.
Okay, so the issue of the borders was completely misunderstood. The EFF categorizes the open border policy in two very specific ways. Firstly, it tells us right now the borders are open. We have an open border policy. People come in and out of our borders freely. They don't really have any inability to come in and out of our borders. Our borders don't exist. First, our borders are longer than the border with Mexico. We have a lot less funding than the US does. So there's an understanding that our borders are almost impossible to actually prevent immigration through. But secondly, they recognize the fact that people are coming illegally because they can't get papers legally. So they wanted to implement a system where getting visas were a lot more easy, creating a sort of African passport, which functions similar to the European ID system, where instead of going and paying smugglers to throw you across the border, a much easier way to do it would be doing it legally through getting a synchronized passport, synchronized ID that allows you to go between the borders a lot more easier, and therefore we'll be able to keep track of immigrants who come into the country. So they wanted to implement a system where your fingerprints were there, your DNA was there. So immigrants who want to come into the country come in easily, and then they're tracked. Because the alternative to that is that immigrants come into the country anyway and they're not tracked. So the EFF's implementation was very misunderstood, and it was misunderstood purposefully by people who want to perpetuate a xenophobic narrative to gain votes and keep the wealthy in power.
You just heard Ewan Dawkins. I don't know if that's how you pronounce his name, but this guy is very smart and is very articulate, and he was unpacking the reason why he believes people were just misinterpreting the EFF on papers. Because somehow they hate the EFF. Somehow they wanted to decampaign the EFF. Most political parties was using this open border thing as if the EFF is saying open the borders. And most people are saying, Julius Malema once said, hey, foreigners must find creative ways to come to South Africa. That's not what he said. In that interview, what he was trying to expand on is that even if Gayton Mackenzie chases these foreigners, even if Gayton Mackenzie can do whatever he does of mass deporting foreigners, as long as there's no border, foreigners will always find creative ways to come to South Africa. That clip was cut when he said foreigners must find creative ways. It is not foreigners must. Foreigners will always find creative ways to come to South Africa. You guys misinterpreted it. Hey, this guy, he hates South Africans. Does it mean if you don't encourage xenophobia, you hate South Africans? How do you guys think? There's no way you guys are gonna claim you are smart citizens and you deserve great jobs from the government, must give you jobs, and you wanna work in the office while you think like this. There's no ways. There's no ways you can think like that and your reasoning capability can be like that and claim you're smart or intelligent. There's no ways. There's no ways. These politicians, they were just using this against the EFF to get votes from people who were already thinking about voting for the EFF. Look at the DA now. It's saying foreigners are not going anywhere. The foreigners who are already living in South Africa, working in South Africa, having jobs in South Africa, must be permitted and legally permitted to stay here. We don't know for what some are alleging in the future, because the DA is going to need votes and it's going to be needing votes from those foreigners, those Zimbabweans or whatever foreigners, you know, because those foreigners will somehow feel like the DA is the one that gave us this opportunity, so let's go vote for it. So politics is a long-term game. It's not for people who are not smart. And political analyzing, like analyzing politics, it's not for people who are lazy to think, people who are lazy to step out of their comfort zone and be a chess master and actually look at things from a chess master's perspective, you know. So yeah, it is what it is. But shout out to this guy for defending the EFF and expanding more what the EFF really meant. And I hope, since black people like to believe things when I say it by white people, they'll believe this guy. Thank you very much.